would like to thank you for the invitation. I have a PowerPoint presentation. Don't know if you can show that. Yeah, there you go. For those of us that are not familiar with EVICEN, with the Hellenic Union of Industrial Consumers of Energy, we operate in the industry. It's actually the energy-intensive industry we are representing. Approximately 30 large industries in Greece. Let me remind you a question that Thodoris Panagoulis posed last year, whether the industry is ready to wean itself from energy, from the PPC, from the State Power Plant Corporation, and whether we are ready to harness the tools provided by our EU. By the EU environment. In our view, there is a competitive price, whether, be it 100, 200 or 300, this makes no difference. But we want to pay what our European competitors also pay. This means that, say, if our competitors have subsidy support schemes, then the Greek industry should be supported as well. The main way out of that the industry has found to hedge the risk from price volatility was the PPA. In the European regulation under review, we see that promotion of green PPAs is a priority, along with contracts for difference. The state, on the one hand, will be entering into contracts through auctions with contracts for difference with RES producers that could, in a sense, be competitive to PPAs. We have CFDs that are contracts with the state and PPAs. PPAs are partnerships, are agreements reached with consumers. At first, the industry has taken this road. There are significant obstacles in our country, nevertheless. Let me just address the last obstacles, the most recent ones. There was an expressed political will, an expressed political strategy to establish a category of green energy producers that will enter into PPAs with industries, the so-called Category B renewable producers. I refer to the ministerial decision published in August last year. And suddenly, after adopting the so-called strategy, renewables projects, 7,000 to 8,000, 9,000 megawatts, we suddenly found out that we are lacking electric space. The contracts, the interest on behalf of the industry to enter into contracts with the renewable producers is not there anymore. Even if we argue that we are not influencing Category B is freezed. Is frozen, is freezing. It appears, in fact, that there is a necessity for new tenders for PV to be accompanied by batteries. The industry has entered into long-term 10-year contracts. At least this has been circulated in the press concerning two groups, large groups, that have covered their demand, their needs through PV contracts, taking on high risks. Do you know what the price a renewables producer is currently getting from the market? How much it lags behind the energy market. If you have a 100 euro energy market, the capture that in RES produces getting is not more than 75 cents, 75 euros. It's a saving cost. The industry wants to hedge the price volatility, keeping on the back of their head that there is a high risk of cannibalizing the high PV capacity. What disturbs us most, on the other hand, without knowing any details as to the ministry's intention, they are talking about new PV auctions with batteries. The development for us is that, let's say, 1,000 megawatts requirement of green energy production, that is producing 1,000 megawatts of green energy, we're ready to do that. And I am responding to my friend Thodori. We did that, and we are standing in front of an abyss. 10-year contracts have been signed that are actually floating right now. Some of the projects included in those contracts are not assigned terms. The new auctions, whenever they take place, should force producers to enter into a 50% PPA with the industry. And this is nothing rational. If you read the new regulation that most likely will be completed by the end of the year, Article 19A5 provides for giving an advantage to producers participating in tenders for tariffs that sign part of their capacity in PPAs. As a matter of fact, this is already the case in Spain. Is nothing new. We had an advantage. There was a policy in place that is now overruled. If part of the PPAs are left not implemented, this is okay, but we cannot force the industry to go out to the market and knock on the door for PPAs, begging for PPAs. This would be the disaster of the Greek industry. We're not in need of mediators in our negotiations with the renewable energy source producers. We are strong, we are bankable, we have a good name in the market, and we can negotiate our terms with the RES producers. If, of course, the political will is there. As said, there are already signed PPAs which are cannot be executed in practice. And let me say here that hedging is not the only reason that forces us in the direction of PPAs. Of course, we want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But the Greek industry is export-oriented up to 90%, and I'm referring to energy-intensive industries in Greece. We take part in international tenders. We enter into 3-4-year long-term contracts with our partners in Central Europe. So the precondition set to participate in those tenders is the bundle guarantees of origin. This means not just having certificates that one can buy in the energy exchange markets. These have no validity in the European market. These are useless. This is rubbish. To be honest, they have to be linked to a PPA. It should be certain that the energy we are consuming not on the basis of a paper, is actually indeed green energy. A problem that arises here is that apart from cancelling business plans and PPAs, we need to replace those PPAs with news in order to replace those bundled guarantees of origin. As said, this is the stake. This is a higher stake for the Greek industry than one might imagine. We hear what is being said about batteries and battery storage. The cost is relatively high. Taking the shaping cost into consideration as well, in 2023 for PVs, this cost stands at slightly more than 25 euro per megawatt hour. That means 50 euros plus 25, 75 euros a megawatt hour. We cannot afford to enter into PPAs for PVs with batteries that are actually behind the meter. Because if you expect the producer to charge the batteries through PVs and when they're not able to manage that, they will pass it on to the industry. The Greek industry will not be competitive on the basis of those PPAs, and this has never happened at the European market. We need to reconsider it. We are in great doubt as to whether PVs with batteries, say batteries with 1, 2, 3 hour charge, the more the charge time, the higher the battery cost. Therefore, we believe that it all boils down to the cost of the batteries increase, of the load, the increase of the load. We are not expecting an increased load that would lead to avoiding energy bottlenecks. The increase in load goes, of course, partly through industries. Energy transition is talking about electrification. Replace natural gas with electricity, or put in place electrolyzers to generate hydrogen. This will no way take place unless there is light at the end of the tunnel. What the energy cost will be over the next years for the industry. Everybody is talking about electric space. Decreasing the load at the peak time and increasing it at time of when sun is shining can be achieved by shifting load. The steel industry starts operating at 10 a.m. not at 6, to adapt ourselves to the curve of the PV. 5 p.m. we stop by 250 megawatt. That is the capacity of one PV plant. And then we start at 11 o'clock in the evening up to 6 a.m. without any extra remuneration on top of that. And since this is laid down in the EU regulation, studies should be put in place as to the flexibility needs. There is no demand-supply flexibility mechanism in place in Greece. There is one in Italy, in Belgium, in France, in Spain. Well, for us to remain competitive, this is a service we are able to offer and to manage, and we see with satisfaction the new wording of Article 19E that completely decouples the demand-responsible flexibility remuneration mechanism from the flexibility mechanism for flexible production units. We as industry cannot do the ramp up, ramp down at 8 megawatt per hour. we are operating at on-off loads. We cannot compete on the basis of a demand response mechanism with others. And let me just wrap it up here. Well.
Λοιπόν, ήταν ακαριέως ο Αντώνης στην...
Andonis immediately reacted to my request.
Καλώς, εντάξει, οκ. Ό,τι πει...
Unfortunately, there is no further time for other questions. Thank you very much to all the speakers and the audience.